On this episode of Gamer Logic, we will be talking about the most underrated hidden gem on the Nintendo Entertainment System and how I got a copy back in the day. I'm talking about Conan the Barbarian. So, hey folks, happy holidays. I'm Mike Murtis, and no, I don't really think Conan the Barbarian on the NES is a hidden gem. It's more of a underrated hidden turd that you should stay far, 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 far away from. And this game randomly popped into my head today, and I thought, man, I remember the circumstances of getting this game, seeing it, having some familiarity with the Commodore 64 version of Conan, and thinking, how bad could it be? Well, turns out it's really bad, but I thought I'd tell my story of actually acquiring a copy of the game, and I actually sat down and revisited it for a brief period of time and thought I would kinda, after all these years, see, was it really that bad? Yes, it is, but I will explain to you guys why it's so bad. And first off, this was not originally conceived as a Conan game. This was actually kind of a pixel swap or license swap, if you will. Originally, this game was based on Myth for the Commodore 64 and I believe several Amiga systems. So apparently, Mindscape thought it'd be a great idea to get that game, get the rights for it. Maybe they made it themselves. I didn't research it. I'm sorry. But for whatever reason, they said, Myth and Conan, let's make that work. You know, you go through hell and you go through a Viking ship and Egypt and all sorts of crazy ass places. That totally fits with Conan, right? Of course it does. Get that license, let's make a game. And that's how this game came to be. So I don't believe I got this game in 1990. It says it was made by System 3 in 1989. Mindscape put it out in 1990. I probably got this game, let's say, I think this was before I had a Super Nintendo Entertainment System, so let's put it in 1992, okay? I, for whatever reason, actually had probably 10, 15 bucks saved up, my fancy little Snoopy bank. You know, this was money from grandma and money from aunts and all sorts of other relatives, stuff like that. And I don't know where my parents were going. They were going to see some friends or they were going shopping. And for whatever reason, I don't know if they were going to Blockbuster Video. They never went to Blockbuster Video. My dad always supported independent video chains. But for whatever reason, be it, you know, they were going there or they had a video return, I basically asked my parents, here's some money. Blockbuster apparently sells used NES games. Please take this money because it'll be cheaper to get a used NES game, and please get me an NES game that I can keep. I was really jonesing for owning a Nintendo Entertainment System game, just something new in my collection at this point in time. Maybe it was a slow period for rentals, I don't know. So I give them the money, and they went to Blockbuster, and as they were looking through, they indeed find a game for me. Spoiler alert, it was Conan. Or Conan. I always say Conan because of the Late Show host. So before I obviously knew what they were bringing over, right? Or bringing back home, I'm sitting thinking, what game could it be? Hopefully it's, you know, one I've seen in Nintendo Power magazine or one I've looked at the Funko Land price sheet. For whatever reason, I'm picturing like Blockbuster is like heaven at this point. They just have like this amazing, amazing selection of used video games. And I waited for hours and hours and hours. I think what it ended up being was they had something to drop off at Blockbuster because someone lent them a movie or something. And then they were going to see said friends for a number of hours. So I was excited. I couldn't wait to play a new game. So I waited, I stayed up, they got home, and there were several things going through my brain as they were pulling up. One was they got me a game I already owned, which I guess I didn't have that many NES games at the time where that really could have been an issue, or they didn't get me anything. I think I probably would have ended up better if they didn't get me anything. So what happens? They show up with Conan the Barbarian. And like I said, I had familiarity with the Commodore 64 version, so I thought, oh, maybe it's an enhanced port or even better version than that. And my God, plugging this game in, turning it on, listening to the, I don't know, fairly unimpressive music, no intro, just straight into the title screen, no instructions. I was like, oh God, what am I getting into? Let's start it up. So I started up, and it drops you in the middle of this cave, which it looks like hell or whatever it is, and not having the instruction booklet to really know the storyline of what the hell's going on, I just kind of start making it up in my head. Conan is held prisoner, and he gets dumped in this cave, and he's got to fight his way out like any good barbarian would. I was familiar with the Schwarzenegger movies, so he gets caught, but he kicks some ass, he makes it out, and he gets the babe, and he wins the day. Cool, right? Yeah, the controls were so awful, and still are awful to this day. One, there's no jump button. You have two attack buttons. One's either a kick or one's a punch. And then your jumping controls, to jump straight up or to do a, I guess, weak leap, you can hit up. And you have a little bit of horizontal movement when you do that. Otherwise, you can do a super jump. And you can hold down on the D-pad to do a super jump. You don't do the super jump straight up, though. It's always whatever angle you're facing, which sounds easy enough to get through, but the platforming elements in this have to be so precise that 9 times out of 10, you usually end up hitting the wrong button because you meant to crouch to pick something up, which has to be done by holding B down and then hitting down. Or you're just trying to fight an enemy and avoid an enemy, and you finally hit down and you end up plummeting into lava or some other pit, and you're dead. It was not fun at all. It was not a great experience. So I played that game for probably an hour, struggling with little green flying goblins, trying to figure out how the hell you pick up a fireball, fighting with seemingly unlimited skeletons, only to get over by the first boss enemy in the game and have him absolutely destroy me. Doesn't matter what I'm throwing at him, fireballs, trying to slash him with the weapon. Nothing makes a difference. And I'm just like, what did my dad buy me? I can't believe this. This game is so awful. But I didn't want to be ungrateful, right? So I didn't say anything, and I just kind of struggled through it, and disappointed, I turned it off. Came back to it in the morning, and I can't tell you how many hours, how many days I spent trying to figure out how the hell you get past the first level, which, as it turns out, once you get the sword, you can chop down a skeleton. Skeleton falls to the bottom, which summons a winged devil, Satan, whatever. You defeat him with a fireball. Again, another insane amount of hours spent just slashing away at this guy, thinking I'm killing him, which it's not. You have to use the fireball to kill this guy, which gives you a pitchfork. The pitchfork is the only weapon that'll kill the boss at the end of the stage. You do that, and if you manage to not screw up any of your leaps, any of your jumps, and don't take any cheap hits from any of the enemies, then you move on to the next stage, which is really bizarre. Again, if you don't have the instruction manual for this, apparently the subtitle for this is like Mysteries of Time or something like that. Suddenly you just end up in the desert. And, thinking back to the Conan movies, I was like, well, I guess I could kind of see like a desert environment, but this seems really weird because it's almost like Roman centurions are running up to me and I'm trying to fight them. And there's more of these green goblins, and I'm running through, and all of a sudden there's this pretty decently animated, pixelated lady beckoning me over, and I thought, oh, cool, maybe I'm supposed to save her. Wrong, she turns into a snake and insta-kills you. So lots and lots of fun there. And that's kind of the big thing about Conan for the NES is even if you manage to get through the immensely crappy controls, there is so little told for you on how to beat the game or how to beat the stage that you're left scratching your head. And there's no continues I could find by any means back then. So I can't tell you how many hours I spent trying to figure out how do I get past this stuff? And through trial and error, I probably managed to get near to the last stage called the Arrow Castle, which you're fighting like samurais and ninjas and boomerang throwing axe guys at the end. But there were some moments in the game that I would say that could be cool if it wasn't for the simple fact that the control and the lack of explanation of how to play the game was just so bad. There was just nothing there. So, you're fighting on a Viking ship, and there's apparently a crow that can toss lightning at you, and you have one shot to hit him right. Otherwise, he sends a lightning bolt and zaps your ass, and you're dead. And man, the game is just bizarre. So today, thinking about this, I decided to pop it in. Spent 10 minutes mucking about in the first stage and dying, and I was like, I gotta find me some Game Genie codes. So I found some Game Genie codes. Made it past the first stage, started remembering the horrors of the second stage, fighting Medusa the next stage and the three-headed dragon, and then, going to the Viking ship and getting past that. I was really shocked how far I actually made it through this game back in the day. So like I said, I came pretty close to the end. I don't know how. But using a combination of Game Genie codes and a GameFAQs walkthrough online, I did manage to get to the, not the final boss, but the second to the last segment of the game, where you are taking these urns and you're supposed to put them in a particular order in order to progress to the final boss. To my knowledge, there is no way to actually figure out which urns it is. And what happens if you put the wrong urns? You die with no continues. So I thought I was going to beat the game. Again, I was using Game Genie codes, but I did not. And by the time I got to the you put the wrong urn in the wrong place, kid, too bad, so sad, you're dead, start over, I said, screw this. So that's how I got Conan the Barbarian on the NES. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I know you tried. And, it just goes to show that back in the day, movie properties, character properties weren't always great. And I know there's so many different memories from other people that, got games of licensed characters, and they're just god-awful. So thanks for watching this episode of Gamer Logic. If you like what you're seeing, please leave a thumbs up, share it on social media, and you can find me on Facebook as well as Instagram. Take it easy, folks. Have a great one. And if I don't talk to you guys before the end of the holidays, Happy New Year and Merry Christmas. I almost said Happy Christmas. You know what I meant. Peace.